London is facing a renting crisis, a combination of high demand and a shrinking market, ascending prices soaring. The past 3 months has seen an annual rise in asking prices of 15.8% in the capital. Letting agents say the lasting impact of the pandemic and looming cost of living crisis are seeing many look to extend their rental agreements.
So they make a deal where the landlord and tenant both feel that they've won. The rent increase has happened. And I think there has been a degree of that, which unfortunately, again, takes away a body of the market. And you're looking for a fresh new property to move into. You'll go, oh, I am subjected to maybe less property than I'm used to available. And therefore, unfortunately and reluctantly having to pay a little bit more.
The private rental sector is now plagued by stories of packed viewings, constant rejections and bidding wars. For those involved, it's a worrying time.
I've put in, I want to say 15 or 16 offers for flats so far, and all our offers have been rejected.
Alicia has had to up her budget from £800 to £1,000 per month since starting her search in June, and is still missing out on properties.
We've been beaten out by people offering 700 over the asking price and 3 years with no break clause. So for someone who, like me and my friends, who aren't really sure what we're going to be doing in a few years' time, we can't commit to that.
It's not just those with jobs suffering, as students also struggle to find accommodation.
So there's 3 of us looking at the moment. We must have contacted like hundreds of places, literally like putting like alerts on Rightmove, Zoopla, Spare Room. Yeah, it's just been ridiculous. Like everywhere we've tried to put an offer in, they're already like, yeah, we've already accepted 500 a month over the asking.
The Mayor of London is calling for reform of the private rental sector in the capital, and many in City Hall have lobbied government for legislation such as a renters reform bill to end Section 21 evictions.
So I think the sad fact is, whilst we have Section 21, renters' protections are quite limited. At the moment, if you have a 1-year tenancy, after 6 months, your landlord can say with no reason whatsoever that you have to leave. And so the Renters Reform Bill basically seeks to end that, which is a massive step for those thousands of people who are raising families or perhaps are approaching a fixed income later in life.
While the proposals are now part of a white paper set out by the government, there are still those that think it doesn't go far or fast enough to help the growing affordability crisis.
The Renters Reform Bill, what's promised there, it's just a start. It is the end to no-fault evictions, for example, but it doesn't do anything to control rent rises. It isn't the thing we need in London, which is rent controls, a freeze on rents now and the ability to bring them down. Mr Sadiq Khan's proposed having a London Rent Commission after he gains the powers to do rent controls. I think it's the wrong way around. We need that commission in place, doing the calculations, working out what the policies ought to be, because then we can fight for those specific policies ourselves. It doesn't do to just wait for government to hand us things.
City Hall doesn't currently have the ability to introduce rent controls, and these powers would need to be devolved from government.
I know that the Mayor of London has been calling on the government to provide that, to devolve those powers, so that we can look at the specifics of the housing market here in London and look at what is affordable. And one really good example is the London Living Rent, which is about 1/3 of average incomes by each London ward. And I think for me that's a really good starting point.
While the London Assembly waits on the government to act and the government is grappling with the cost of living crisis, young professionals in London are urging for resolution to this growing problem.
I'm going to have to move home with my parents. I offered like £50 over the asking price last year, and we beat like the tenants that we were up against, and it was so quick and it was so easy. And now it's just to see how much has changed in a year is crazy. I do kind of feel like I'm being priced out of London.